Beneath these stones, something still lives, a royal secret still breathing in the dark. Here, sweetness is not a treat. Here, sweetness is power. After secrecy, after inspection, the reward finally reaches the royal table. She judges before she speaks by scent alone. Greater than, not water, not syrup. This is honey, heavy as authority. For the king, taste is not pleasure, taste is verdict. He searches for smoke, purity, and strength in a single drop. And in her silence, approval or punishment is born. This is where royal honey begins. Not in the palace, but in clay hives hidden long before anyone is allowed to see them. Smoke is the first key, never to harm, only to calm. A thin veil, enough to soothe the colony, never enough to touch the honey. The first opening is always the most dangerous moment. A living factory, warm, crowded, alive, and filled with gold. They cut the cap first because honey must be released on their terms. The comb is taken gently, because power is intelligent. It knows the colony must survive the next season. Honey moves slow, thick, elastic, unmistakable. Each person has one job. No chaos, no panic. From hive to hidden chamber, the journey begins long before the palace ever tastes it. Only firelight guides the way, because this place was never meant to be seen. A door sealed by power opens only for royalty. Here, sweetness is not deserted as currency. In the underground workshop beneath the pyramid, every breath is guarded, and every drop is counted. One signal, and the entire underworld obeys. This isn't farming. This is a royal industry carved into stone. Even the hives are treated like sacred vessels. The first cut breaks the colony's seal and begins the harvest. No rushing. In this chamber, time is part of the recipe. What looks like gold is food reserved for power. A single mistake here could cost more than a year's wages. Linen becomes the first gate, catching wax, ash, and dust from the underground air. Hands replace machines, slow pursuer. Perfect control. Every drop is watched because the palace demands purity. Heat is controlled with fire alone. Too much and the flavor turns. Thickness is the first proof. This honey must move like slow silk. Batch after batch, they prepare what will feed the throne. Tools are washed and dried every time. Every batch only cleansing water, because one leftover scent becomes betrayal. Then comes the second filtration, finer, slower, closer to perfection. Impurities are removed like sins in ritual. In this factory, measurement is law. Every jar must match the royal step. Air is guided, not forced, so smoke and scent never escape the pyramid. Clarity, scent, resistance. 3 tests before sealing. When the honey moves, it travels like a royal convoy. The seal is not decoration, it is the lock that keeps the secret alive. One continuous line. No gaps. No mercy. Cooling is controlled, because weak seals invite betrayal. In darkness, every jar gains an identity, so the palace can trace every drop back to the hands that touched it. This is the treasury of sweetness, counted like gold. They wedge the jars apart and test each one, so nothing shifts, nothing cracks. When the wax hardens, the secret hardens with it. Not everyone who enters is allowed to leave with knowledge. Deeper still, toward the chamber where the next inspection begins. The deeper the hole, the closer we get to the throne's eye. Before royalty arrives, the jars are presented like evidence, perfectly aligned, perfectly sealed, polished not for beauty, but for proof. That rhythm means only one thing: the royals are coming. Fire becomes the announcement, lighting the path for power. Greater than, they stand like living guards, still, alert, human, because royalty is near. The first judgment belongs to the king, and then Cleopatra. Greater than. The room learns to breathe again. Greater than. Their presence turns work into ceremony. Every step slows. Every eye lowers. A sia is a promise, break it, and you break loyalty. The king does not ask twice. He signals, and the entire factory moves. Only under royal eyes may a seal be opened. and it must be done without leaving a single crack. Clean cut, no fractures, the mark of master hands. The scent alone tells a story. Flowers, smoke, sunlight, stone. Now comes the moment that decides reward or ruin. Greater than in her stillness, an empire judges. If the king approves, the batch becomes royal. The seal returns stronger than before, as if it was never touched. Approved jars are organized for movement, aligned, counted, and kept level. From the hidden workshop to the palace, every step protects the seal. They move slowly on purpose, so the honey stays level and the seals stay intact. They protect it from three enemies: water, smoke, time. What leaves this chamber carries her name and her consequences. The path to the palace is not a rodite, is a controlled ascent. No spill, no tilt. The honey must arrive exactly as it was sealed. A single loose knot can become disaster in a narrow passage. The king's inspection continues. Precision is the only acceptable language. Identity stays locked to each vessel, so the palace can trace every drop back to its source. The underground factory meets the palace corridor, where secrecy becomes spectacle. Let the palace receive what the pyramid has refined. Greater than. Even at rest, the honey moves like captured light. Greater than. At the palace gate, underground labor becomes royal inventory. Set down without shock, so the seals remain unchallenged. No jar enters unseen as a conceal, because kings trust no one. The final inspection is simple. Look, signal. Confirm. Confer. Greater than approval doesn't need words, only certainty. Now the honey is divided. What will be served and what will be hidden. Linen becomes armor against heat, impact, and curious hands. Some jars are meant to be found. Others are meant to disappear. A perfect seal is perfect silence. No fractures, no questions. When the stone closes, access ends. Only the seal and the silence remain. The palace keeps what it values behind stone and ritual. Power doesn't linger. It decides and moves on, and her silence becomes the final seal. What survives here is not just food, it is a system, a machine of secrecy, a kingdom built on control. Names are carved into clay so memory can never deny the hands that made it. When the work ends, the pyramid becomes silent again, but it never truly sleeps. Above sand and sky, a hain industry built on secrecy, because some royal recipes were never meant to be shared. Only overyet.